Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this video I have for you a preview of the 39th Guards Rifle Division, a new division available in the upcoming NAY update. Please remember that this is early access and was recorded on a preview build, so what you see may be subject to change. Let's jump on in. So I'm going to go through all of the units as usual, and we'll put together a quick deck. So first off, we have the Mtlb Snap. This is an armoured supply vehicle, only 500 supply per, but you get like 9 of them on a card. And the fact they have armour for 20 points is not too bad. Nice for dotting around, just cheekily resupplying some AA or, you know, some AT of your infantry, that kind of thing. But they're not going to be useful for any sort of like big repairs on tanks and stuff because they're just going to use up their supply too quickly. But you do have the Euros. There's 3 cards of these available with 1,100 supply per Euro, and you get 9 on a card. So plenty there that you can bring in. Only 4 cards available total though, that you can choose to bring in your units. That's interesting actually in the logistics. And there is the Mi-9. This is your classic command helicopter, useful for backcapping and also for capturing units, or capturing sectors by flanking and getting into the side and then landing them, killing the enemy command unit and then bringing in the units behind the enemy. But yeah, I won't encourage that because I know some people don't like it. BTR 60PBK is another option, comes with that 14.5mm heavy machine gun. Really good at wiping out infantry, these are, and therefore can defend itself against infantry probably relatively well. It is armoured and it does have some decent off-road speed, the 72 km/h speed, so you can run around all over the place. If it comes under pressure from enemy helicopters or something, you can probably try and run away. Then there's the BMP 1K3, which is a bit better armoured on the front. It does have its own Malyutka, but generally I wouldn't recommend taking command vehicles with the armaments unless you plan to use them like offensively, and like the BMP 1K3 isn't really the best for that either, so yeah, it's alright. 73mm main gun with a Malyutka, yeah, it's okay. Very mediocre. Let's move on to the infantry tab here. So it is the 39 Guards Rifles, so hopefully they've got some decent infantry, but we start off with the Jeeps. The UAZ 469 AGS-17 comes with the AGS-17 grenade launcher, useful for attacking infantry from range with the 1,415 meter range there. These are just useful for, say, if you're Mtlb or something, start engaging at the 885 meter range against some infantry that are like in a town or something. Then you can have these kind of stand behind and launch the grenade launchers from a distance, which is quite useful. There's also the UAZ 469 with the SPG-9. Now this is actually pretty good. It's got 15 penetration at 1,765 meter range. That actually makes it better than the M67 recoilless rifle that the Americans get. So yeah, this could be pretty scary for picking off units with side shots, and I mean just light armored targets are going to go down to it pretty easily. Then we have Mtlb as the Mtlb leader, which is 4-man squad with AK-74s and RPG-22, so it will be able to defend itself at close range. It can be brought in within a range of different transports. So the BMP-1P, the BMP-2, I'm just going to add each of these with each of the different transports so that we can have a look at them. So yeah, the BMP-1P, which has the 73mm gun with the Malyutka, same as the one in the logistics tab. Does have that 3 frontal armor. You got the BMP-2, which gets 4 frontal armor with a 30mm autocannon, and then the Conker's HGM, which has 20 penetration with 2,650 meter range. This HGM is not too bad. The accuracy lets it down a little bit, but overall the BMP-2 is pretty nice, although the 30mm does use up its ammo pretty fast. And then there's the BMP-3. So there you go, you've got the BMP-3 now in the game. It has the 100mm main gun, which is useful for shooting the infantry with the 1.2 HE there. And then you've also got the ability to shoot at armored targets. It does have 3 penetration so you can hit lightly armored targets with it as well. But the main thing is you do get this 2,827 meter range Bastion Cyclos missile. Now this thing is actually pretty damn good because of that range. Like if you look at a BMP-2 at 2,650 meter range, this is pretty standard for the HGMs we've seen in the game so far. But a BMP-3, which has 2,827 meter range, it's pretty significant. It's very nice indeed. The BMP Motostrałki can also be brought in with all of those variants of BMPs. These have 6 AK-74s, the RPK, and the RPG-7VR, which has 26 penetration. Then there's the standard Motostrałki, which can be brought in with the GAZ-66 truck or the BTR-60PB. I'm actually quite a big fan of the BTR-60PB. I think it's pretty decent for ripping through infantry. Then there is the Motostrałki Metis, which do have the Metis launcher, which has 1,590 meter range with the 26 penetration there. So again, really nice penetration on the AT weapons of these Russian units. But they are smaller squads in general than the US counterparts. So infantry on infantry fighting generally falls in favor of the US. But of course you do have the strong APCs to back you up, particularly in the case of the Motostrałki BMP here. Moving on, we have the Sapele Gomrati. This can be brought in with the BTR-60PB as well. Get 3 of them. They have 4 AK-74s and an RPG as opposed to the RPG-22. I get the RPG-7VR. The 7VR is obviously a lot better. And these cost exactly the same points, so I would assume that you'd probably want to bring the Sapele Gomrati in most cases. Although the Motostrałki Gomrati can be brought in with these BMPs, so maybe you want to do that as well to capitalise on the veterancy. Possibly. Next up, we have the Sapele, the standard Sapele. These are actually good in towns, because if you're able to like hop on top of another infantry unit, these satchel charges can really do a lot of damage. The other nice thing about them is you get a lot of them. So you get 9 on a card, and with the BTR-60PB, you can start to like really amass like a strong force to take on the enemy. So yeah, quite like this Sapele. Then there's the Sapele RPO, which you get 6 at 1 vet. Can be brought in with the BTR-60PB again, and I would recommend it pretty much every time because it's not that much faster or not much slower than the GAZ. I think it might even be like the same. Let me see. We'll just have a look to check. So this is 63 km per hour off-road and 108 km per hour on-road, and the BTR-60PB is actually faster off-road and same speed on-road, whilst you get that nice armoured APC to help you out. So I would always recommend bringing them in the BTR-60PBs. And that's your infantry tab. So it's funny how there's like Motostrałki Sapele, but there's no like guards rifles. Like in Still Division you have like the Gwardia, and then you have your Strałki, right? Like there's a difference. Whereas in this case it seems like they are relatively similar to the ones already available with the 97th Guards. Or 79th Guards, sorry. Tank Corps, that is. Artillery. The Gwozdka, we've seen these before. You can get 3 cards of these, and you get 6 on each card, so you could get like a total of 18 of these Gwozdka, making quite a nice battery that you can slam the enemy with. Particularly in like a counter battery role, although they do lack some range, like the 14,135 meter range isn't that long. You do have the Akatsuya as well. You can get 2 cards of these. You can get 3 on a card, with the 1 veterancy, 17,670 meter range. Not too bad. There is the Grads available again. This has the 17,670 meter range with the HE rockets. These HE rockets unfortunately aren't that powerful, and also the launcher doesn't currently fire that quickly. It'd be nice if it fired much faster like it does in real life, but yeah, maybe they'll change that at some point. Then there's the Eurogun. This thing is a beast. It is your big boy HE rocket launcher. It gets 220 millimeter rockets. It's almost twice the caliber of the Grad, and it gets almost 50,000 meter range with 3.3 damage. Not sure of the suppression on these boys yet, so you know, that remains to be seen. But if the dispersion of them isn't too bad, then I think that it'd be pretty nice. It'd be a pretty nice vehicle because of the damage there being pretty high. Moving on to the tank tab, let's see what we get. So Brdm2 Conkers are available again. These little 30-point Brdm Conkers vehicles aren't too bad. You can dot them around all over the place with their 2,650 meter range, 20 penetration. They are able to side shot things quite easily and will take out light armored targets very fast as well. Then we have the Mtlb Sturm S. These are 4 available with 1 vet. This thing has the Kokon missile. This thing is significantly better because of the extra range and accuracy, as you can see, than the Conkers. So the Kokon gets 2,827 meter range, and it also gets 55% accuracy. Both of these, by the way, are semi-active manual guidance. So, well, they're just manual guidance, sorry. Which means that you basically need to maintain line of sight in order to hit with it. It does also mean that if you briefly lose line of sight and then you see them again, the missile can track back to its original target. I believe that is able to be done, but with the manual guidance there as well. But yeah, this is a really nice launcher. The T80b is available, 160 points, 16 mils of penetration, or 16 penetration. I always say the mils thing. I'm so used to still Division 2 still. Yeah, 16 penetration with 50% accuracy. That's with the 1 vet. 2 vet, you can boost this accuracy quite a bit, and 3 vet at elite, you can make these 75%, which is, yeah, not bad at all. I mean, against Abrams, which is kind of like the counterpart division to this, these T80bs are probably going to win out because they've got the extra penetration whilst maintaining similar frontal armor. The T80bvK is the T80bv Command variant, so both of these have the same stats. With the at veteran 68% accuracy, you can get quite a lot of these T80bvs. You get 6 with 1 vet and 4 with 2 vet. These have 18 penetration and 17 front armor. Definitely strong tanks, for sure. But there's no T80Us in this deck, so do bear that in mind. You do get the T80bv though, which has the 20 penetration main gun, and also the Agona Saklos missile, which has a 22 armor penetration there. But the armor stats are very similar to the T80bv. You just got less side armor and a little bit extra rear armor, actually, for the T64. Availability on these is pretty decent. You get 1 card, but you get 6 at 2 vet on 1 card, so that's actually pretty decent. That's your most expensive tank that you're going to be getting here. Technically, the T80bvk is more expensive, but it's like, in terms of value, I'm comparing these two as opposed to the Command variant, because the Command variant just gets the Command tax with the extra 100 points there. Right, Recon Tab Brdm2, your classic small recon vehicles, good for dotting around all over the place and can kill off infantry quite easily. You can get 9 of these at 1 vet, and they give you the good optics with the mediocre stealth. The mediocre stealth's obviously not ideal, but the good optics is enough to see stuff in the open at least. Then you have the Razvedka, your standard 4-man Razvedka squad. Can't get any interesting transports, but you can get 12 of these on a card, which is not bad. They get very good optics with exceptional stealth. Yeah, standard small infantry squad. And there's the Razvedka Heavy. These are very similar, but just with more men. But they don't have as good optics. So you can see these guys have very good optics, and these guys do not. I think the Razvedka Heavy are more useful for just like engaging the enemy directly, and they're good for accompanying offensive troops because they provide the extra optics that your other troops might not have. Whereas a Razvedka is something that you'd use like on its own somewhere to just maintain line of sight over a particular area. But the fact that these guys get a little bit more men is kind of nice. They can also be brought in with the BMP-1P, And they can also be brought in with the Mi-8T. And this Mi-8T has a bunch of rockets. Let me just show you guys. It has 64 57mm rockets, which it fires pretty fast. So a nice transport for sure. Then there's the Grenzer. These are East German units. They have 6 of these KMS-72s with the RPK and the RPG-7V. This RPG-7V has 705 meter range with very good optics and exceptional stealth. These guys aren't too bad, and their truck is currently only 1 point, which is interesting. I'm going to assume that's going to change. Probably should be 10. Regardless, these are a pretty decent squad. I mean, they're basically like the Resvidka Heavy, except from they get a launcher and extra optics. Yeah. BRM1 is available. This comes with the exceptional optics. On the ground, this can be pretty useful for spotting units in cover, but isn't really that capable of taking out units in cover by itself. Then there's the Mi-8 MTA, which is your recon helicopter. The fact this has armor makes it actually quite tanky with the 10 damage, or 10 health, sorry. And since it has exceptional optics, it can spot things very, very well. It's a nice recon helicopter. Moving on to the AA. Got the Eagler squads. These guys have just the UAZs as transports. Great for dotting around. If you bring them in upvetted, you can get 68% accuracy on the Eagler, which is pretty much the same as the Stinger. You're just getting slightly less HE damage, but I think these are longer range than the Stingers, so bear that in mind. You probably want to use these in like 2 or 3s, so have like 2 or 3 of them together or in the same sort of area in order to actually shoot things down efficiently. So yeah, Eagler squads. Then there's the Brdm Strela. This is actually going to be quite useful. It's got 2,650 meter range against helicopters and 2,473 against aircraft. But the nice thing about it is it gets 5 HE. And it's got 50% accuracy, which is okay. I mean, for 2-vet, that's pretty bad, to be honest. But yeah, the benefit of this is that it's fast. It's got 90 kilometers per hour off-road speed, which means it can pretty much run down helicopters that are like hovering in awkward positions. It can avoid counter battery and bombing strikes itself, whilst also getting in position to engage enemy aircraft. So yeah, I actually quite rate this. It's going to be quite useful. As the standard Strela 10M, so see, this actually suffers from the slow speed. So you can see 54 kilometers per hour compared to 90 kilometers per hour is a big difference. And therefore the Strela often gets taken out by enemy bombing strikes or enemy artillery. And that's because its range against aircraft is limited compared to something like the Osa, which gets the 4,240 meter range now against aircraft. So yeah, Strela 10M, it's alright. You get 6 with 1 vet and 4 at 2 vet. You need to bring it in a 2 vet to get the extra accuracy. Then there is the Osa Akm. This thing has 6 missiles, which can use 4,240 meter range with 7 HE. I've said this before, I think, but the reason that the Osa is really good is because of that damage. It means that it pretty much always 2-shot stuff out the sky, which is really, really useful. So bring them in bring them in pairs, and you can just like one-bang stuff if both missiles hit, of course. 70% accuracy at 2 vet, not too bad. You don't really want to bring them in at the trained experience there. I don't think it's really worth it. But veteran's good, and 4 on a card's not too bad. Then we have the ZSU-23 4M3 Brdm. This thing is not terrible. I mean, I've yet to really try it out. It depends what the rate of fire is like. because so far in the game we've kind of had like the PVADs and Tunguska be a bit bad with their main guns, but they have been buffed lately, and maybe this because this is like only got the quad 23 mil, it's gonna do plenty of damage. Like 2,475 meter range against aircraft is pretty long. 2,650 meter range against helicopters is a bit bad. The speed doesn't really do too much for it. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how this performs. Interesting unit though, and it looks really cool. I love the model. Very, very nice indeed. And then we got the Cubs. The Cubs are back, and you can get 2 with 1 vet and 1 with 2 vet. And these things have 4,594 meter range against aircraft, which is a little bit longer than the Osa. So they are the longest range AA in the game right now, I think. But the accuracy is terrible. So I don't really rate these all that much, even though they're not even that expensive, to be honest. Even so, I don't know if they're going to take up activation points in my decks. Moving on to the helicopter tab. Things are pretty real here. So, lots of MI8s. We've got the MI8 MT with just multiple rocket pods. This thing gets 96 rockets, which is quite a lot. For 90 points, this thing's going to definitely hurt. It's got the armor as well there, which is going to mean it's going to take an extra couple shots from AA. You got this rocket variant, which comes with even bigger rocket pods. Like this is, I don't even know. Quick maths, boys. It's going to be what, 120, 180 plus 18, 198 rockets. Is that right? I'm sure somebody will tell me if I'm wrong. Either way, it's a lot of rockets. 110 points. You're paying for an extra, basically double the amount of rockets. So, yeah, 2 available at 1 vet, 1 available at 2 vet. And then finally, we have the 80 mil rockets. So these are 57 mil rockets. And then we have one with 80 mil rockets. So this one gets 80 mil rockets. And again, 1 vet, 2, and at 2 vet you only get 1 of them. And the accuracy of rockets doesn't really matter, so upvetting these isn't going to matter either. So you're going to just have like all that availability really of these rocket MI8s, which is going to be pretty scary. Let's move on. Lots of Mi-24 variants. We've got the Mi-24V. There's only 1 available per card at veteran. You get the Yak-B autocannon, Gatling cannon at the front, and then you got the Kokon M missiles. These Kokon M missiles are pretty good actually. 2,827 meter range is the longer range for an HGM, plus the 22 penetration there, and then it gets 20 122 millimeter rockets. Those things are gonna absolutely slap. Then you have the Mi-24V AA variant, which is the same as the one I believe we already have in the game. Again, only 1 available at the veteran. This has the Yak-B Gatling cannon with the Iglas under its wings here. And then the air-to-ground rockets, which are 80 mil rockets. So, yeah, these are the ones that we've already got in the game. And then, finally, you've got the AT variant, which is the Mi-24V with Kokon missiles, more Kokon missiles. So this one has the rocket pods, the 122 mil rocket pods, whereas this one just has extra Kokons, and then looks like 80 mil rocket pods. So 8 Kokon M's available there with 40 80 mil rockets. That's the payload for that one. Again, only 1 available at veteran. Same stats as always for the Mi-24s. And then we have the Mi-24VP. Now this thing costs a lot. 360 points. Only 1 available at veteran. You get 2 cards of them. 30 mil autocannon on the front of this one. And it has 16 Recon M missiles. That's a lot. Depending on how fast it actually fires these, that could be really strong. If it's not that fast, then I don't really rate it that much. But 80mm rocket pod is available again. And yeah, maybe I'll try them out. Let's move on to the Airtap. In the Airtap, we're going to be seeing the addition of more East German forces. We got the Su-22M4, which is a bomber. It comes with the 4 500kg bombs. It also gets 2 infrared missiles, which is pretty interesting, but these infrared missiles are kind of trash. They've only got 3 HE. It does get a 30mm Gatling cannon, though, which is kind of nice. Yeah, I feel like for a bomber, 135 points, you get 4 on a card. Not bad, to be honest. There is the Su-25 variants. We've seen these before. One comes with the rockets, the 80mm rockets. Pretty nice for just demolishing infantry and light armored targets, whilst also being quite tanky and able to just kind of hang about. And then there's the cluster variant with the 6 250kg bombs, or like cluster bombs, that is. There's the napalm variant with the 500kg napalm bombs, there's 4 of those. And then the ATGM variant, which comes with 2 of these KH-29D infrared air-to-ground missiles. So 3,357mm of range with 30 penetration. These things are very good. If they hit, they do a lot of damage. All of these variants, other than the rockets, do have their air-to-air Vimpels with the, well, actually, the Su-25 cluster one and the Su-25 napalm one, their air-to-air is kind of trash with the Vimpel with the 3 HE, but the Su-25 HGM actually gets a 5 HE Vimpel. So, there you go. Moving on to the Mig-23 MF. This thing is East German. We'll have a look at the markings. You can see that. Just the lighting on this. Look at the reflections and stuff. Oh, it's just so good. Very, very nice indeed. The blue cockpit as well there. Comes with a 23mm. 2 Vimpels, which have 7,065m range with 5 HE. And then the R60M Vimpel, which comes with 4 HE and 3,534m range against aircraft. And this thing's not terrible. The accuracy is actually god-awful, though, at no vet. That's like, well, at 1 vet, it's like 40%. It's so bad. And then veteran, it's reasonable. And elite, you know, it's okay. I think veterans obviously are probably what you're going to bring them in, if you bring them in. There is the Su-24M. This is the same HE bomber that we've seen already with the 8 500kg bombs. You can get 2 of these at veteran. They do have the 20% ECM there. There's the cluster variant with the 8 250kg bombs, cluster bombs. These things we've definitely seen plenty of with the 20% ECM there. And then the napalm version as well, 6 500kg napalm bombs. Not bad. And finally we have the Mig-23 Mla, which is the Soviet fighter. The payload is, let's see, is it similar? Looks like it is pretty similar. It's just the semi-active radar missile for the Mig-23 Mla is slightly better. Yeah. I say slightly. Very, very, like a lot better. It's got extra range, like an extra 700 meters range, and it's got an extra 12% accuracy at veteran. So, yeah, these are definitely going to be your air superiority fighter of choice. Alright, well, that was actually quite a lot to look at, especially this heli tab. Let's move on and make a deck. So, in the logistics tab, I'm probably going to bring in the B2R60PBKs. We're going to use Urals as our supply vehicles. And I don't know if I'm going to bring in like much more than that at the moment. Let's fill out the infantry tab. So I think the Sapele Gomrati is probably the better choice here. just because the AT weapon is better, although I don't know if I want to use the veterancy to get like some high vet BMP3s. I might actually do that. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. And then maybe I could bring in a card of these actually as well to capture back sectors, because then I don't have to use up extra points in the logistics tab. I definitely want to bring in more BMP3s here. So we're going to bring in these ones. That's going to give us 2 vet BMP3s. The accuracy on this Bastion is actually not as good as I thought it was. But yeah, we're going to bring in those, and then I'm going to also bring in some BMP2 variants. BMP2 Mostralki are pretty nice. I'm going to bring in Sapele with BTR 60pbs, and then we'll do Mostralki Metis in BMP 1ps. Definitely want both of those squads. Also, I do want to try out these boys. I think these are going to be super useful. Accuracy is kind of trash on this SPG. I just realized that. I mean, I think because of their rate of fire, they'll still be okay. Let's just bring in a card of them with one bet. We'll dot them around. Alright, want to try out the Eurogun, of course, so we'll bring in both cards of those, and we'll bring in some Akatsuya. Tank tab, definitely want the T64s. Definitely want T80bvs. I'm going to bring them in at veteran. We'll bring in some of these Sturms as well. I'm going to give them a go. We'll do just veteran for those. That's good. And I think that's where I'll leave it for those for the time being. Let's move on to the Recon tab. So Grenza is probably our best bet for infantry right now. And then I do want to bring in these MI8 MTAs. I'm going to bring in a card of BRDMs. Don't know if I need BRMs. I think I am going to bring them just because the exceptional optics is nice. In the AA tab, definitely going to be using Iglas. I want to try out the Berusa. I don't think it'll need veterancy, so we'll bring in an Unvet. And then we're going to bring in 2 cards of Osa AKMs. And I might bring in a card of Strelas as well. Helicopter tab. I think the best one's going to be the 80mm rockets here. And these might be quite nice as well, just because you get the sheer amount of rockets you get. So let's add some of those. We're going to add some of those. We will add some of these. I don't think the AT one is really worth it. I think the rocket one is better, because you get both 122mm rockets and you get Cocons, as opposed to Cocons and 80mm. You can always just send this back to resupply. AA wise, getting a couple of these MO24Vs with AA might be quite nice. I'm going to bring in one of those, one of the VPs. I want to try them out, see really how good this 30mm is, how good the Cocon M is. I haven't really had much of a chance to use that with the helicopters. This does leave us with a pretty low amount of activation points though. My Airtab's going to look miserable. I'm going to try out the Su-22 M4s, and we'll drop in a card of the Mig-23 Mlas. Alright, I definitely want to bring in the Su-24 clusters, and we probably want some Su-25s, so I need to find slots for those. Take out one of the Osas. That's going to give us an extra 3 points. We'll put 2 into the cluster Su-24s. And then I need to find another 2 elsewhere. Maybe I won't bring in the Akatsuya for now. Yeah, well, we won't bring in the Akatsuya, we'll just use the Eurogun, since I don't really have that much supply. And Actually saying that, I probably don't need both of these either. Then again, that's the only 1 pointer left, isn't it? Let's do 2 Euroguns and 1 Akatsuya. And then we'll put the 3 points into the Su-25 ATGM, sorry. Cool. Alright, that's where I'm probably going to leave it. I think that looks alright. The Infantry Tab is quite elaborate. Like, probably don't need these UAZs in there. Since I've noticed the accuracy, I don't necessarily think they're going to be that useful. But we'll see. I mean, if they can pop anything that's worth more than they are, it's worth it at the end of the day, right? So, yeah. Going to be interesting to see how the BMP3s perform. The BMP2s have always been decent. The BTR-60PBs I like. And the Meta Squads are definitely worth having. Double leaders here might not be necessary. Maybe I could drop the leader here in order to get a leader in the Logistics tab. And that would spare us an extra point. But none of the other tabs can use a 1 pointer, so I'd have to probably drop something else there as well in order to make the most of that. Alright, well, I'm not going to go into it too much. You guys have seen the division. We're going to name that 39th Guards Rifles. And we'll leave it there. Let me just save it. We'll exit out. I'll bring that up for you guys so you can see the overall deck that I have for you there. So in the end, not much in the logistics, but I think, you know, there's not really many cards that you can put in the logistics tab in the first place. Infantry tab actually looks really strong with the amount of BMP2s and BMP3s there are. There's a Eurogun, which is going to be fun to try out. T80bv, T80s, going to be pretty strong as sort of your armored support. And I'm tempted to, well, I'm going to be fun to try out the Sturm. That's going to be nice. We've got Grenzers for infantry, Recon, which is going to be nice to have some East Germans represented. And then you've got the MA8 there, the Brdm and the Brdm. I'm not sure if the Brdm is really necessary. Might take it out, but we'll see. Igla, decent. Barusa, don't know how good that's going to be yet, but interested to try it out. Also, I really want to hear the sound effect of it in game. I think it's going to sound awesome. Like, the sound effects in this game are actually amazing. So, yeah, really looking forward to hearing that fire. The Osa Akm, decent, and the Brdm Strela ones I think will be decent as well, just because of that speed. It allows them to zoom around all over the place. Heli tab might be a bit chunky. Like, I could always drop the Mi-24 VP if it's not that good. For 360 points seems very expensive. But you are definitely paying for the ATGM tax there. Airtap Su-22Ms could be decent. I actually didn't see if they had any ECM. Did they? Yeah, they do. They have 10% ECM. So they might be okay. And then there's the Mig-23 Mla, the Su-24M, and the Su-25, which are all good. And we've played with them for quite a bit. So, yeah. Quite happy with this deck. I think it's going to be quite strong. Especially with the abundance of BMP2s and a lot of like mechanized infantry here. I think this is going to be like super good. Yeah. Much better than the 8th Infantry Division in my opinion. I think the 8th Infantry Division maybe lacks some oomph to it compared to the divisions we already have in the game. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this look at the 39th Guards Rifles. Do make sure to subscribe if you want to see more WARNO content in the future. I will be, of course, doing some gameplay videos on these divisions once I get the chance, but that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.